Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan, and this is our Inside the Birds podcast. Now, we don't have a game to preview like we ordinarily would. The Eagles are bye this deep into the season for the first time, and maybe since I've covered the team, the bye week has been this late. It's been a long time. So Adam and I thought it's a good time to look back a little bit on the entire team. This episode will kind of focus on the offense, and then when we come back Monday morning with our next podcast, that ordinarily would be the game review or the game recap podcast, we'll do the defensive side of the football and just look back on not only the performance, but also what that tells us about the team here going forward down the stretch and what they might need going into the off season. So obviously, Adam, the big picture going into this year was all about Jalen Hurts and the evaluation of it. So it makes sense that we would start with the offense and get into the quarterback. It's been such a weird year. I can't imagine that we would have predicted basically trying to recap an offense that is completely in the middle of the year just reinvented itself.
I know.
It's like two different offenses.
Yeah, and we'll also look forward over the last 4 games what they have to do to get in the playoffs. But on that, they are an offense that leads the NFL in rushing. There's no way anyone could have imagined this. This is just remarkable to me what they've been able to do. And Joe Banner came on our show on Inside the Birds this week and talked about that. He gave him tremendous credit when we asked him about Sirianni, what his thoughts were, and how Sirianni just kind of accepted where they were at, what was the best way for them to win. And the best way to win is run the football. But what I would say in moving it forward is that in the future, not just over the final 4 games, with this great offensive line, the depth that they have. I know Joe thinks they still need depth, and I don't disagree for the future. Yeah, down the line for Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, seeing what they want to do there and who's going to play in center. Sure. But they've found something here that it's rare that you're best in the National Football League at one thing. And it's important. Running the football is important. And they're the best at it right now. There's no question. No matter what seems to happen on their offensive line, unlike last year, they're able to overcome it. They've had, three guys on IR? 2 or 3, right? It's Isaac Seumalo. It's
right, Brandon Brooks,
and and Jack Driscoll. Yeah, so they do have 3 people.
Yep.
And yet they're still kicking ass.
Right. Yeah, no, it is. It's not flukish. We know that. We've seen them run from under center very effectively. We've seen them run from shotgun very effectively. We've seen them run with Jordan Howard and Boston Scott only. We've seen them run with Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell only. So they've thrown the kitchen sink of both run schemes, run personnel, and run formations at every opponent, and nothing has changed as far as teams' ability to stop it. So I imagine as we go forward, you're going to. I think Joe is right, and I think. Remember how I said I predicted it on the pod. The last pod we did, we foreshadowed having Joe on ITB TV, and you had said, "I wonder what he thinks of all this running." And I said to you, you know what I would bet he's going to say is, for this offense, for this team right now, it is the right thing to do. But obviously, moving forward, it's too extreme this way. He said you never want to be too extreme either way. And right now they are. And in fact, he actually went numerically. He said, like, sometimes they're running 40 times and only throwing 14 times. That's not balance. And he's right about that. As they go forward, there is going to have to be a better, more balanced principle to their offense. But that's when I say forward, I think we agree that's 2022 and beyond, not this year.
Sure, but
unless forced to.
Right, but I don't think they're forced to throw. I don't think they're forced to run. The best thing is that to win with Jalen Hurts, who's part of the run game, by the way.
Yep.
And to take advantage of this outstanding offensive line. We always knew it was good, but this is as we get started with Sirianni, as everything he's done. And we evaluate him. Being at 6-7 is a little bit far. The record is a little bit farther ahead of where I thought they would be. I picked 7-8 wins. They're obviously barring something unforeseen, are at least going to get 7. My guess is they'll split the final 4 games, which would give them 8 games winning, and it being at 8-9 would still have a chance to get the 7th spot, the final wildcard spot. So we'll see. But I think Sirianni, the thing that I'm very impressed with is the buy-in of the players. First year, Doug Peterson, believe it or not, had issues with getting a buy-in from the players. That's why you saw some reports out there, including ours, where this is such a sure thing that he was going to come back for year two. I don't think it was ever seriously discussed that they were going to fire Doug Peterson, but I think there's some questions about what the buy-in was. And in year two, obviously the buy-in became greater. He coached harder, and it worked. And obviously we know they won a Super Bowl. Whereas I think with Sirianni, he absolutely got the buy-in. They believe a lot in him, and I think we've learned a lot about him. He's not perfect. No, nothing ever is, but he's gotten better as the season's gone along. He understands who they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be a run-oriented offense. The offensive linemen love it, obviously. Jeff Stoutland's been amazing. Their offensive staff is starting to learn who these players are. We mentioned this on our Wednesday morning show. They're starting to find out who these players are. And I'm not saying they're going to weed out anyone, but as they give reports to the front office after the season's over, when they sit down and review the season, they're going to know who the players are. They've now, as you and I speak here on Friday morning, they've got 3/4 of the season in. They know who the guys they can depend on and who they can't.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good stuff about the offseason. Also, in our interview with Joe Banner, we talked a lot about draft. We talked a lot about his views of the deficiencies that they have specifically on defense that must be addressed. And interestingly, Joe brought up some things that may look improved now at certain positions, but probably aren't going to stand the test of time. So they'll have to be addressed in the offseason. So make sure you check out our ITB TV interview with Joe Banner on either our YouTube channel or our podcast platforms. Quentin and Jason have Q&A out, drop Thursday morning at 6 a.m. They weighed in on the game, the Eagles-Jets game, on Gardner Minshew, on Jalen Hurts, what it means to them, what they saw. They had some fascinating observations. So I would encourage everybody to check that out too, also on either YouTube or podcast platforms from Inside the Birds. We're going to start off, as you mentioned, Nick Sirianni. We'll get into the play caller and the quarterback as we do this offensive review for the season. Of course, we'll always tell you before we start that it's the holiday season, and we know that everybody needs to find gifts for their friends, for their family. You got to go to that annoying holiday party and bring some kind of $25 gift for you don't know who because it's a grab bag Pollyanna deal. So what better way than to find these things on Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that's actually fun. Deal Dash is the longest running penny auction website and app around. And some of the things that you can get just sound too good to be true, like a car for $900, a brand new TV for less than $2. And of course, things you can get for your friends and family and these holiday parties and things that are going to be a lot less expensive than if you have to, and you don't have to wait either. Like on Amazon, you may have to wait, 2 or 3 weeks before you get your gift. So you got to go with Deal Dash. Don't pay full retail price. Just get the things you want on dealdash.com or download the app. And when you register, use the promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. All right, let us talk about, well, you got into Sirianni first, and we've kind of seen him as a play caller / designer in 2 ways. We saw him try it one way, not work, try it another way, it has worked. And what I think the most beneficial thing you take from it is you saw even when he went to the run game, it's not like, okay, we're going to run it now. I mean, you saw an evolution of that running game from the downhill under center attack that you saw starting off against the Raiders, mostly against the Lions, to then going back to a shotgun run game where you can incorporate your zone reads and your quarterback runs. And then against the Jets, the cool thing is with Minshew there is you saw a mixture of under center downhill with shotgun. So now the artillery belt is full of just different ways to come at teams. But I will say, as it's easy to do that against the Jets. I mean, the Giants started to show you, even though you could run the ball against them, they limited the big run, I thought. They did a good job of limiting the big runs that the Eagles had been getting. And then obviously they were able to put the Eagles into some third downs that were more favorable for the Giants than the Eagles. And I think as you look ahead forward to 2 games against Washington, which is a tough defense, another against the Giants and one against Dallas, we'll really start to see if there's another step in the evolution of Nick Sirianni's play call. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a miracle worker; he's got what he's got. But I'm interested to see if anything changes or if there's things that we notice that we haven't talked about yet this year.
Well, what I like to do off of what you just said, this is kind of I have a self-scout game plan for them, just my notes. The thing I don't understand is, we've talked about how they look similarly at times like the Baltimore offense, no doubt, with their RPO game and everything they do off of it. Generally, when you run the ball as much as they do, play action, not only should it should work, you should be hitting deep shots. They're not taking deep shots. I don't know if it was a Hurts issue. I understand with Minshew you're limited because he doesn't have a great arm, but they hit the Goddard touchdown. Ball looked like it was floating, but it got there. But Hurts has got a strong arm. You should be able to hit. When teams are loading up the box against you, the player count should give you the ability to get one-on-one matchups on the outside. You've got to be able to hit those, and you got to hit those. That's the thing of my self-scout for the Eagles I like to see from Sirianni as a play caller, where they expand the passing game. They got to start doing that. I like the design of their offense. They're using motion, as he said they would do, not just to do it. They would use it for a reason, and they are. I still would like to see more of that. And then what we saw in the previous week, it was a Goddard game. It was the first Goddard game of the season. This has got to continue. Every week has to be a Goddard week, for goodness sake. I'm frustrated with the lack of use of him. I understand they don't throw the ball a lot, but when they do it, maybe I'm in a minority here. It's got to go through Goddard, not Smith. It's 1 and 1A instead of Smith 1 and Goddard 1A. That's the thing I would do.
Yeah, I don't think that's unrealistic. I think that's fine. I mean, sometimes you might wind up with one having more yards than the other, but I agree that those are your top targets. And because of the veteranness of Dallas Goedert, I would say he should, and just his ability to make yards after the catch, and how it's typically a little bit easier to get the ball to the tight end than the wide receiver, based on coverages and things like that. I would agree. And to add to what you're saying, when you're running the ball as well as the Eagles are, we've seen both against the Giants and the Jets, especially, that teams are now stacking the box. The Saints, I didn't think stacked the box as much as I think that they thought, because they had the top ranked rush defense, that they would be able to contain the Eagles, and they were not. The Giants did bring guys into the box, and so did the Jets. We've seen 6, 7, or 8. So whenever you have those opportunities where you see it, you can check out of that run and take advantage of the seams and the sidelines, which should be open. Or at least single covered. You should have really nice, as you mentioned. Yeah. Does Jalen Hurts have a Joe Flacco arm or a Lamar Jackson arm? No, but if you throw with the right enough timing and anticipation and let that thing go like Russell Wilson does, you can throw. He's got enough to throw a good deep ball. And the running game that they have right now should support more play action, deep passes. So I would agree with you on that. And I think to win against these division games, they are going to have to put the ball in the air a little bit more, or at least when they do put the ball in the air, it does have to be some big strike plays, kind of like you saw with Minshew to the tight end Dallas Goedert against the Jets. Totally agree.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, and once if we
can we get some more screens? Sorry, can we get? Can we, I mean, they seem
that's
to work.
That's on my running back. That's on my running back review, kind of self scout.
Sure.
No doubt. They were great against the Jets. I mean, it was like overload, and I was all for it, man. I was pumping my fist, like, yeah, see, we were going to get it finally. It only took them three quarters of the season to do it consistently. I mean, they do them occasionally, but not heavy. I understand some were checked out, some were not. Some were design screens, but it all worked.
Right.
They took advantage. Gardner Minshew did a good job of taking advantage of what defense gave him, and so could Hurts could do that as well. So, also. On ITB TV, I thought Joe Banner did a phenomenal job of breaking down Hurts, what he saw. I thought he was very fair. I don't want to give it away, but he explained processing and the early stages of McNabb and evaluating quarter. I just thought he did a very fair job in calling down the middle. I learned a lot from Joe. We didn't know we were kind of – one of the things that Geoff and I do is we have a couple of things we want to talk about, and depending on what Joe says, Joe went through the Eagles roster, and then we went back with Hurts and how to manage that situation. I just thought Joe did a great job of explaining when you're an evaluator like he was as a team president who oversaw football operations, what you look for and how you handle quarterback.
Yeah. I thought his discussion to that point about all the different quarterbacks he's been around with the Eagles, from starters to backups, draft picks, free agents,
Yeah.
whatever, guys invited to camp, and then with the Browns also. So it's a huge sample size there. And we specifically asked him. I'm not going to give away the answer either, and I couldn't because it was very long and detailed about whether or not things like processing and seeing the field is an innate quality trait or a honed one or both. And he was really insightful on that, not just on his experience, but how his discussion with general managers and personnel evaluators and what they think, because it is, as he said, it's a league-wide issue. I mean, quarterback evaluation is not an exact science, and I think the way he explained it shows you why. I mean, Carson's a good example. I will give this way. He brought up Carson. Carson showed to be an elite processor at the college level and in the interviews and in his first 2 years. Very quick processor with the Philadelphia Eagles. And then all of a sudden he was just not. And even still now, I think he struggles at times in processing, even when he's playing well, what he's seeing out there. And it's like, how did you have it and then not have it? When you can understand someone who doesn't have it and then improves it, but it's very weird to see someone have it and then just for whatever reason not have it. So how does that pertain to Jalen Hurts? Is that he's got a couple of games left here this year, and then maybe even next year, we don't know, to see if that's really the big part of the game, the processing, diagnosing, and then the instantaneous reactions when the ball's in your hands to see where those openings are. Because Adam, if he can improve that, he may never be the best at it. He may never be Peyton Manning at it, never be Warren Moon at it. I don't know. Yeah, but if he improves it 35%, to put a random number on it, and along with the dynamic ability, you might have yourself a Pro Bowl, 5, 6, 7 year in the league quarterback. If that's a big if, but I mean, that's an if.
Because you look at it as we go over their review, how many games do we say, man, he didn't see the field clearly?
Yeah.
You've heard Avant and Cosell in our pregame show. It's funny, they see, and Jason was a player, Greg did not play, but Greg's an evaluator of tape. They see the game very close. I noticed they agree on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They see the game through very clear eyes when it comes to the quarterback position. And both of them said it. You and I have said it. The people we've talked to around the league have said it. Hurts leaves a lot of throws on the field that should be made, and he doesn't make them. That's for processing. He's not sometimes he just doesn't see it. And this is what happens with young quarterbacks. Not
Right.
all, but some. And Banner did a phenomenal job of explaining what you look for, how it improves. Joe talked about the accuracy thing, how it doesn't, that's the one. Other than Josh Allen, so few quarterbacks have improved accuracy. That's really hard to improve. But the processing part, I know from talking to coaches, can improve. Because you show it to them and you drill, and eventually they get it. It just, you have to keep, not all of them do. Okay.
Right.
Some guys never get it. Christian Ponder, very high test score, couldn't process very well. He was a one-read quarterback. He just never made it. He just, as a first-round pick, he just never made it. Some guys can get it, some guys can't. It was a great discussion.
Yeah.
I love how you and Joe are going back and forth, and Joe kind of admitted it. You could take up like an hour and a half just talking about that, the quarterback position, player evaluation. We go through the whole roster. Joe, without us asking, he just went through the whole roster.
I know, it was great. No, we had a little fun back and forth on the on draft, on positional value and bias.
That was it.
In the draft, and we talked and how that extends
to
the Eagles not never drafting a safety in the first 2 rounds. So yeah, no,
that was great.
Good.
That was phenomenal.
That was pretty. How about the fact? I can't give it away. There's a great Michael Lewis story about Michael Lewis was a good safety, but they actually made a little bit of a mistake in that draft that he talked about, and it you'll have to go find out what the mistake was. All right, so that's the play caller, the head coach. That's Jalen Hurts in a nutshell. Let's talk about the running backs. What's fascinating, Adam, with all this running, this number one rush offense, all these attempts. I don't think we haven't seen a full game yet of Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard together, right? Because didn't Jordan get hurt in the middle of the game that Miles made his return?
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, he did. Jordan got hurt against not the Giants, the game before the Saints, right?
Yes. Yes,
and that's
Jordan
the
did.
game where Miles came back
Yeah.
to play, if I'm not mistaken. And then Jordan Howard left like late in the first half, I think, with a knee injury. So how weird is that? That like these guys have not yet played a full game together
Well,
this year.
so after the bye, I'm assuming Sanders is going to be okay. Get treatment on his ankle.
Yep.
Boston Scott from the illness will be back.
Mm-hmm.
Gainwell's healthy. Jordan Howard with a sprained knee. We'll see if he's back. But let's say, for argument's sake, they're all back.
Mm-hmm.
The great thing about this running back group, and you're absolutely right, we've not seen them all be factors because if you recall, for majority of the season, it's been a two-back backfield. It had been Sanders and Gainwell, and then it became Howard got involved with Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Gainwell still was not involved. Scott was involved. Like they just remember Scott never had a touch from scrimmage until I guess what percent? I forget what did it was because Sanders got hurt. Is that what happened? Or Howard got hurt? I forget.
That led to what? What?
No, that's why was Scott all of a sudden playing when he never had. Oh yeah, it was before Sanders got hurt. Yeah, it was.
Sanders got hurt. That opened up the door for both Howard and Scott to
right.
get
Well, Scott especially. Right. And then Howard came off the practice squad. But the point is, if they're all available, here's the question: Gainwell's not going anywhere. Obviously, he's got a future that they've seen enough. The Jets game, he looked really good. His playing time has been in spurts. They go weeks without using him, then they use him. So Sanders is the best back. He's explosive. He's their bell cow. Well, bell cow. He's their main back for sure. Right. Howard revived his career. He was terrific before he got hurt. I mean, it's an amazing story. He carried over what he did in training camp. Boston Scott is a good football player, and Gainwell, as we said, gives you something different. So here's my question to you. So going forward, the final four games, they're clearly in that thick of things here for the wild card. Not completely out of winning division. They have an outside shot to do it. It would take a lot, but let's focus on the wild card. How would you handle this running back rotation if all four are available?
You're going to hate my answer.
Oh, no. Play all four?
No. Well, I would if I was trying to figure out how they could do that. You could do it if you're willing to sit J.J. Arcega-Whiteside down and deactivate him, which maybe they would be willing to do.
He's a black wide receiver.
Well, I mean, Jalen Reagor was your blocking wide receiver against the Jets. And did he really?
Yeah,
I forgot to talk about that in the film review pod. He did an excellent job of it.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah, I get it.
Should be a good blocker. No, I know. I know that's not ideal. My only point is, I don't know who else you would be able to put down on offense to keep four because with the offensive line, you're going to need your depth there, and with your wide receivers, you don't have that many up to begin with, and your tight ends, you need three. Unless you're willing to sit Tyree Jackson and just go with two tight ends, which maybe in one of these four games you might find that, it's risky. So
they've done it before, but it's risky.
So my answer you're not going to like is Gainwell is the odd man out for me because
he had been.
Boston Scott does the little things that I don't think Gainwell can do right now, and those matter. In fact, we talked about it in the film review. The touchdown, the pick rub route touchdown to Dallas Goedert for 25 yards was made possible by a well-designed rub route on the right side between Goedert and Boston Scott. And Boston Scott was sick. I mean, he didn't play that many snaps, but he played that because they trusted him to run the correct route, not run into. You remember how much problems this team had trying to run basic rub routes in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season? Penalty this, penalty that. So they trust Boston to be able to do that. And I don't know that they trust Kenny Gainwell as a rookie to be able to go out there and run that perfect route. And as a pass protector, Boston Scott is also better in that position. So it's those little things that are going to make a difference for your number 3 running back. And I hate to say it because I like when Gainwell's on the field, but you're trying to win games and you're trying to have the most perfect alignment, assignment, and what's the third thing they always talk about? Alignment, assignment, and something else. That's, to me, that's Boston Scott's specialty as compared to Kenny Gainwell. So that's where I would say.
Okay. I would agree with an asterisk. So if everyone's healthy, Miles Sanders is your main back. We know that. He looks tremendous against the Jets. We gave you what our sources told us on our Wednesday morning show. Jordan Howard is, if he's healthy, gives him that size in between the tackles, north-south runner, dependable. He just had a rebirth. I'd argue this is the best he's looked as an Eagle. He's looked great. And then Scott's got the versatility. You need him on third down, he can do that. You need him on kickoffs. He's a safe guy on kickoffs. You need him on third down, he can do that. He can catch the ball. He's a utility guy. He's just a good football player. What a discovery for the Eagles. Sean Payton had some great quotes when the Eagles played him about how he liked Boston Scott. They just didn't have room for him,
Right.
and he knew he could play in this league. And there's no question. Yeah, I think you assessed it correctly. Sanders, Scott, and Jordan Howard are the three backs. Kenny Gainwell was inactive, right, when all three were available?
He was. He
Yeah,
was
right.
inactive,
So
yeah.
there's your map. There's your map. To finish off running back,
Mm-hmm.
so just what I want to see going forward. I do like what they've done with these guys. What I would like to see is the screen game again. Keep it consistent in every game. Don't give it up. Also, I like to see the running backs lined up outside formation. Miles Sanders slot, X position. Just try something different.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see matchups because as Joe Banner told me many years ago when we worked together at ESPN, the best way to evaluate an evaluator, or I mean a play caller, is to how they use running backs in the pass game.
Right.
Getting them on a linebacker, finding a matchup that you like by opponent and figuring it out. And the numbers will tell you analytically, okay, here's what they give up by position, to what the opponent gives up against running backs, receivers, tight ends. We give you these numbers every week, and they're going to have some matchups. And Miles Sanders, I know the hands are questionable. He did a good job last week. Scott's got very good hands. If Gainwell dresses, we know he's a threat. Now Jordan Howard is not, but in terms of the pass game, I like to see a more consistent play calling from Sirianni with those guys in the pass game.
Absolutely. I completely agree. All right, why don't we move on? We will talk next about wide receivers. And before we do that, I want to tell football fans, we know you love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any NFL team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get skin in the game with new same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If that team scores, you score with promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You got to be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And as we've been telling you for a while, if you want to get an advantage over DraftKings or any sportsbook, just download BetQL. It's the only app you'll need to make smart bets. They got a best bet computer model that scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you the best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and the reason why you should make the bet. That's the biggest thing for them. Their model covers everything from spreads, over-unders, player prop bets, and if you don't want to use the model, you like to do the research yourself, well, BetQL's got all the necessary tools for your research needs, from sharp data, line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, and even a leaderboard to track your success. So go to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL. There's also a website, try.betql.co/ITB, that you can get started at. Just enter the discount code ITB at payment checkout for 25% off their subscription offerings. And they've also got a sportsbook offers page. If you live in one of the eligible states, you can claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. So don't miss out on the chance to beat your sportsbook this football season using BetQL. All right, let's get into these wide receivers, and we could probably do a 3-hour dissertation on wide receivers and the Eagles and what's going on there. I think we've seen some really impressive route running and ability and acumen from Devontae Smith, enough to know that he's going to be a good one. He was worth the pick. He's beyond his years, as opposed to most rookie wide receivers, in the art of getting open and using your head fakes and your feet and your attacking leverages for cornerbacks. He's got it all, man. I mean, he's really got limitless potential. He's also the only one who's a wide receiver who's catching a consistent number of passes in this offense.
Yeah, the only thing that I like to see going forward, we're not seeing it much now. We saw it in the Denver game where Jalen Hurts was really good, really good. Jalen Hurts was just so solid in that game. and the bomb to Devontae Smith down the right side. That was such a great pass. I want to see more shot plays to Devontae Smith. I remember we asked Cosell about that
Mm-hmm.
on our pregame show. He said, absolutely. They did it at Alabama. He said, there's no reason that they can't do it here.
Right.
So I'd like to see that. Rager, we know, has to be a better football player, and they have to use him better also. It's not just him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he needs to be better, but I want to see him used on slants. I know that Hurts does not throw the ball great over the middle. Well, guess what? He needs to start doing it. That's on him. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Yep.
I want Smith on crossers, Rager on crossers. Enough of these short area screens and orbit revert, whatever the case may be. Let's get him back in the offense here. And Quez Watkins, I want the deep. We saw it in week 2, the 91-yard catch and run for a touchdown. I want the shot plays to Quez Watkins back. That's the thing that's missing with the receivers. You finally got the speed. How about using it?
Yeah, and they rave about it all the time, and it just doesn't seem to be able to manifest within the constraints of the offense. I can sit here, Adam, and say that, the one way to get, Rager and Watkins more involved is to scheme it, meaning like, you're using motion, using misdirection, you're doing some of the Shanahan style things that just naturally get the ball to certain receivers. Mm-hmm. But I've been saying that all year, and it's just not in Nick Sirianni's DNA, and I don't expect that to change no matter how much I call for it. It's just not the type of coach he is, I guess, or wants to be. And that's okay. I mean, not every offensive play caller is a Shanahan guy. It's just, but he does have to then, if he's not going to do it that way, it's funny because I think people disagree with us. I've heard too much Rager, too much Watkins. Like, why are they trying to feature this guy in the offense? And I scratch my head when I hear that. I mean, you can't just draw up every single play for one or two guys. You've got to balance your offense and not be predictable because the defense is on to that. So as down as people are on Rager, right? I mean, they were so upset that he had 7 targets against the Giants. More upset that they dropped.
Of course, he catches those too.
Yeah, if he caught the, and he made a really good catch against the Giants that kind of got overshadowed by the obvious drops. And then the following week against the Jets, he only had 1 catch. It was a good catch. Made a good catch against them, but it got overshadowed by his adventures on special teams.
Yep.
So regardless, I am of the personal belief that you're not going to be a really good passing offense until you unlock Rager and Watkins more, right? So I'm not sitting here pounding the table saying never throw to these guys. Throw to them if they're open and get them open. That's how I feel about it.
I'm with you, man. I think in Sirianni's self-scout, he's got to figure out a way to take advantage of the speed. I think that's, as we finish off receiver, that's the thing that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
I want more explosive plays from the wide receivers going forward to the final 4 weeks. You mentioned Washington's defense. It's good now. It sure as hell wasn't for most of the season. All of a sudden, this 4-game winning streak, despite the 2 DNs being on IR, they're playing great football defensively. Give Jack Del Rio credit. I mean, it looked bad for him, but he's turned the thing around. We'll see how the Eagles attack them right after the bye here. It'll be a very interesting matchup. That'll be game of the week, no doubt about it. So that would be it. And then tight end, it's just more consistent use of Dallas Goedert. And you just saw it. The Jets had no answer for him. This kid's a fantastically talented player. You and I know this. This is a guy that when the coaches met with the front office staff, whatever the heck that was in February, I'm guessing, they raved about this guy. This is a guy they wanted to have it be a big factor. Hey, he got his big-time contract extension. He better get the football, right? You have to justify it. So he's a stud. Get him the football. He's a 3-down guy. Tyree Jackson, one thing before we move on here to the offensive line. You saw him start last week. I understand it was for blocking. This guy's a pretty good athlete. Wouldn't you like to see him get the ball a little bit?
I would. I really would. I would like to see him out there in the red zone, especially where I think those type of tight ends have flourished. Logan Thomas had 10 touchdowns last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Sounds right.
For Washington, and he's another tall quarterback convert to tight end who had a breakout. Now he's been on hurt all year this year, but he had a breakout year last year. And I imagine if I went back and looked, and maybe I can do this really quick while we're talking about where his touchdowns came from last year, I would imagine most of them were in the red zone. I mean, you almost have to think that because he's 6'6", 250, and I think Tyree is 6'7", if I'm not mistaken.
6'7", yeah, and he's lanky. He needs to put weight on, but you can't teach size, folks. Watch my man Donald Parham Jr. who scored against the Eagles. I think he scored against them, didn't he?
Yes, I believe he did. I believe
6'8". Can you imagine a safety? He's 6'7", a safety's going to be 5'10", 5'11". Come on, man. Let's go.
Right. So he had I'm going through his touchdowns from last year, Logan
Okay.
Thomas, 2020.
Yep.
6-yard touchdown, 5-yard touchdown, 15, 5, 15, 13. So
There you
all those
go.
touchdowns
Red
were
zone.
in the red zone. So
Oh,
there's got to be an out.
okay.
And then this year, his 3 touchdowns from Heineke, 11, 2, and 7. So, I mean, basically all of his touchdown catches are red zone catches. So
I would bet. Okay. All right. I'm going to throw this at. What's the over-under for Tyree Jackson catches and touchdowns over the final 4 games?
if I set the over-under at receptions over the final 5 games, seeing as he has 0 now, right, at 5.
I was going to say 6.
6? I'd probably take the under.
Yeah.
If we're being honest here.
But to help the red zone offense by and large has been solid this season. It could be much better. I would love to see Goddard and Tyree Jackson on the field in the red zone. Goddard's what, 6'5"? Is he 6'5"?
Yep.
About? Tyree Jackson's 6'7", long ass arms, man. Oh my goodness gracious, he's long. He's so gifted. When we were watching him in training camp, it was like, man, how's he doing this? Like he'd never played tight end before, and he's just running free. I know that was practice in training camp. This is the real thing here. But you know what? You guys, an NFL tight end, get him the football and help your offense out.
I'm with you. I will say this. I do think that there's going to be a Tyree Jackson touchdown before the end of the year.
I agree with you.
Yeah, yep. He's 6'7", Goddard's 6'5". That's a lot of height, right? Boy, Goddard's even bigger than I thought.
Basketball guys, man. But both are athletes, man. Goddard's a phenomenal athlete for the position. Tyree can move. I mean, he'll get more explosive as he grows into being an NFL tight end. This is a great experiment. You know, the Howie Roseman has been after this for years to find that basketball player, the guy who's convert from another position.
Mm-hmm.
They finally
or just a really tall tight end, even from Ifani Moma to
that's right. Chips guy from UMass.
Yeah, Ifani Moma was one, and then of course last year there was Hakeem Butler, right? Yeah. And Jason Kroom was not in that group, but he's been trying. Moma wound up being a serviceable tight end for Arizona for a year or two, right?
Correct. A couple. He blew his knee out, and that was it. But So tight end, it's real simple. I'd like to see Geoff and I agree more uses of Jackson in the red zone. He's playing more now. Jack Stoll's their Y. Goddard could do everything. It's a good group. This is a really good job by Jason Michael, the tight ends coach, to get Tyree Jackson going and Stoll's development. What an undrafted free agent he's been.
Right.
Goddard looks like he's on his way to being a stud. They just need to get him the ball more. I want to see him be the focal point. I'll just that's what I said in the last show, and I'll repeat it again. I really want to see him blossom here because he should. He should be next year. There's no excuse if he plays 17 games and he can't have 80+ catches. That's how gifted this kid is. It's only four in the neighborhood of 40 game. Come on.
I'm with you. It's free Dallas Goddard. That's
yeah.
Exactly. Listen, I was with that in August. I just still don't understand how Zach Ertz was an Eagle when the season started. And I love Zach Ertz. I had nothing personal on that. I just didn't understand the dynamic, the reason for it at all. So, but now it is Dallas Goddard time, and he'll make the most of it as long as
for a game. I mean, 16. You got 16 games before, and for a game, it's just, what, 64?
Yeah.
Okay, 7 games. So get 4+ a game. Okay, he can do that. Almost 5 a game.
Yep.
I just think he's such a mismatch. You just don't find guys who can move like he can. That Dallas game, 3 years ago, was it his rookie season when he had that touchdown call back?
Yeah, the 70-yarder. That was his rookie
seamer. Yeah. Where the phantom push off.
Yep.
You don't find tight ends who could run like that. I mean, come on, this guy's.
Nope. That was good. All right, let's finish it off with offensive line. Before we do that, we're going to tell you to make sure you check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you're checking out all their great work. You can find it on Twitter at PHLSportsNation or their website, PHLSportsNation.com. We'll pause real quick now for a word from our other great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you stop out there and Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get the best deal, whether you're buying or trading in your automobile. All right, what's that?
I was just going to say, I I'm thinking of selling my car to them. I'm based on the need that dealerships need.
Right.
Even new car dealers or pre-owned cars like Sky Motor Cars.
Hmm.
All these dealers are running. They're not running out of cars, but there's a car shortage,
Right.
and they need cars to sell, and that's why people are getting so much more than they normally would. It's only going
Hmm.
to last when this chip shortage is fixed in about a year. You're not going to be able to get as much as you normally would. Or you're not going to get as much, I'm sorry, as you would get now. That's why
Right.
I'm thinking of selling it, but the problem is I need a car. So that's the
Well,
other
people
thing.
can
It's like,
take advantage of it. People that you
right, do
might
I
get,
trade it in, as you
yeah,
said?
you might
Should I
get more
trade
than
it in?
you'd ordinarily get, and
Right.
then you
I
can
don't
put
know,
that toward
man.
your next
I got to
car.
research this. I got to
There you
research it.
go.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of big movable objects that are not cars, Jordan Mailata,
Right.
Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, and Lane Johnson. Now these guys are big and movable in the run game. They're not very movable in the pass game. They've been excellent at pass protection as well. I mean, I don't even know how to self scout other than to say these guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. I'll give you one little area. I do think they have not been tested as much as especially Mailata, right? As
Mm-hmm.
much as most left tackles because of how much they're running and how little they're passing. And there have been some games this year. The Raiders, I thought, got them on the edges too much, Crosby and Ngakoue. And even the Giants were able to get some pressure at times when Jalen Hurts was passing. Not a ton. I don't want to make it seem like it was a bad effort by the offensive line. There were times where Jalen just had plenty of time and didn't make a play. But again, Washington's going to come at them. You just know that. Giants are going to get their second shot. Dallas kind of abused them in week 3, but that's a different, the totally different style of offense there. But they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit, I assume, and the whole offensive line is going to have to do a good job in pass protection.
They're handling it. And let me ask you this, off what you just said. Has there been a time, I have to go back 6 or 7, I can't remember a game where they didn't pass, where they had a game that was even average. They've been dominant for
Raiders. I thought that they got edged too much against the Raiders. I
Okay.
thought Crosby and Ngakoue got them.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
considerably.
That would be the last one. Absolutely.
But also,
they ran the ball.
Mailata was hurt. What was Mailata playing right tackle that game? Lane Johnson. I think that was the first game.
Okay.
Was that the first game Lane Johnson came back?
I don't
maybe the first
recall,
or second.
but let's put it this way, right? Back then, that was the first game where they committed to the run, though they got smoked. They gave up 30 straight points. They scored the first 7, then gave up 30 straight. But
right,
you saw the conversion to being a running team as its identity, and they haven't changed. They pass protect. They do everything well. We haven't talked much about their pass protection because it's been so good. It's like been an afterthought.
right.
But as you mentioned, Dallas could bring it.
Yep.
Dan Quinn has done a good job, so I'm fascinated to see what happens.
No doubt about it. Dallas can bring it. We'll see if Montez Sweat, who was on the COVID list, first he was on IR, then he went on COVID, is not vaccinated. So we'll see if he's back for the Week 15 game there, the Eagles' next game. But they've actually been doing well without Montez Sweat and without Chase Young for the last few weeks anyway. So Montez Sweat being back would only add to their pass rush, and we know they have 2 really good elite defensive tackles in Jonathan Allen and in Daron Payne. So it's going to be, and they've got some rushers too in their backup tank. So they're obviously a good defense, good front 7. And you mentioned what Jack Del Rio has been doing lately. So that'll be a real test for the pass protection game.
Yeah, their depth now, the Eagles, as we close this on the offensive line. Herbie right now is starting at right guard for Brandon Brooks. We'll find out soon. Right. What Brooks' availability will be for the final 4 games. And he's got to get his job back. If he's healthy enough to play, he's the right guard. They're better.
He walks into it. Yeah.
Right. Has to. Yep. Now, that would mean Herbig's back to being the top backup center guard, okay, which he's really good at. Sua Peta, who Jason Kelsey said not to sleep on, right? He's a guy who's got who he likes. And Dillard's your backup left tackle, so they'll be okay. It's good. That's fine. And LaRaven Clark, so their depth is okay. The depth is not what it once was, but this is why you bring in a LaRaven Clark, right? Brett Toth is also there. I forgot to mention him. Overall, what's really made this offensive line in a underrated way is Landon Dickerson's progress. It's just he's taken it so far. He's taken it a little bit farther than I expected to, based on what we've heard from people who've graded Eagles tape.
Yes.
He's playing at such a good level. And he's not great. obviously he's a dominant run blocker. He's not quite there as a pass blocker yet.
Right.
It'll get there, but also posture and being able to getting good set off of that knee is obviously challenging. But Mailata's elite right now. Kelsey's elite. Lane's elite. It's just all working out well, and they're just at a level now that I did not see happening. And I would close with this. Let me ask you this question: In your time covering this team, which goes back, I guess, 2 decades, Claire, almost
2005.
Almost.
So what year are we in? Yeah, we're like on year 16 here. So yeah,
17. Okay, coming up
17. Yeah.
Do you, as good as the Eagles' offensive lines have been, have you ever seen it this good? Am I overrating it?
Well, the problem is that they've never ran this much. Like if they had ran this much, and they kind of did in 2003, right? With when Donovan really struggled there at the beginning, and they went with the committee of Westbrook, Buck, and Deuce, right? They ran the ball really well. I don't want to take away from that line because that had Runyon, it had Trey, was Sean Andrews on that line yet? No, he was drafted the next year.
Oh, Jamal Jamal still there?
No, Hank Fraley, I think, was the center.
Oh, Honey Buns.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the 2003 team, but I mean that was a really good offensive line. But this line is unbelievably athletic.
I would love to ask Trey. It is. I agree with you with athleticism. I'd love to ask Trey.
Mm-hmm.
Would Trey admit that Mailata was a better player than he could ever be? Is that too much to say? Because Trey was pretty damn good.
But you'd be the one to ask him that.
No, but Jordan Mailata right now, and everyone I've spoken to seems to agree that not everybody agrees when they look at offensive linemen. He's playing at an elite level. I mean, you don't see guys move like this at his size, at his weight. Trey was never 380 or 375. I don't think.
No, I think Mailata's athleticism is sort of for his size is unparalleled. But I don't know that he is as gifted as a pass protector.
Technician
yet,
too.
Trey
was a technician, right?
Yeah, Trey was a technician.
And I would like to know next time we have Trey on, if he's being objective, comparing Mailata, Dickerson, Kelsey, Brooks, and Lane Johnson, is this not a great? I mean, does it get much better than this as a starting five? This is pretty damn good.
It is pretty good. You know, the Super Bowl team was Trey and Runyon as the tackles. It was Artis, Hicks, and Mayberry as the guards, and Fraley as the center, and that was really good. The year before it was Wellborn as one of the guards too.
Wow, there's a name.
Yeah, John Wellborn and Bobby Williams was the right guard.
You got a memory, dude. Are you?
No. This one I'm not taking credit for. I'm looking it up right now.
I was going to say, how do I remember this?
No, that one I will not take credit for. I think when Sean Andrews got in, though, is when they became, and they didn't run the ball that much, though. That's the thing. When Sean Andrews got in there, because he was so special, Adam, you know that. He was his athleticism, kind of like when we talk about Mailata, you just shouldn't be that big and move. When it was 2005, they had a terrible year. Remember, that was the post-Super Bowl year, everybody got hurt. But Trey, Hicks, Fraley, Andrews, Runyon, maybe even the 2006 line where you take Fraley out and you put Jamal in there, and then you take Hicks out and put Harriman's in there with Thomas, Andrews, and Runyon. That line is probably the best line I've seen. That line probably rivals this line as far as overall talent. But again, that line didn't run block nearly as much because they were and entrenched as a passing team at that point. So, but that's a hell of a line too.
Yeah, I thought there was a comparison because this thing is, and no matter, as I said earlier, it's like they lose 3 guys to IR, yet they still are humming and they're still bringing it. It's just been remarkable. Kudos to Geoff Stoutland. I hope he's feeling okay.
Right.
After last week, and kudos to Lane and everything. He's gone through and come through it well. And
yep,
it's been something to see. We didn't know. No one ever expected this crazy decision, which great decision, by the way. The head coach deserves incredible kudos to do this. But to be this unbelievable running game, the best in the National Football League, yeah, sure. Who predicted that one? Give me a break. It's unbelievable.
There you go. Anyway. All right, defensive review and soul searching on the next one. We'll get through every single position on defense, and we'll have a lot on that. That's clearly a side of the ball that's got a lot of work to do no matter what, and we'll talk about it. So that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Hunter Brody. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. You got to check it out. It's called Sports Talk with Bros.
Energy.
Energy, lots of fire and passion. And you can find his work also on broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.